welcome to Impossible Coin. As far as I know, I think it is Father's Day in the United States. I think that's it. I think that's real. I don't think I'm lying. Rocky Hardy, am I lying?
Nah, that's Father's Day.
Okay, so in honor of Father's Day, what I've done to recreate the beginning of this show is what I think I've eaten a bunch of questionable seafood. It might just be off, and I'm going to hand you and Joe Spiro some ballots related to the best video games of 2025, and I'm going to ask you to discuss that while I run to the bathroom, like every 20 minutes.
Okay, as long as every 20 minutes. I thought you weren't going to come back, honestly.
If we're recreating the beginning of this show, did you bring back Michael?
Well, also, yeah, okay. If we really want to get into it, oh man, we're going to talk about Firewatch. All right, fuck it. That's the rest of the show. Firewatch, video game. There's some light Metroidvania going on. It's kind of sad. There's walkie-talkie
a Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah. Joe, aloha.
Hey, what's up, man?
I know that you often get called the granddad of this show. Because for some reason I'm the dad. I don't know. Does that make you my dad?
No, I'm on the other side.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm the other side of the family. I don't know how that works or who that implies or what's up with that, but yeah, I'm the other side. Like you know the freaking I was gonna say the Sabbath, but like so in Judaism the Sabbath is supposed to be like the bride of God, and it's just like this conceptual figure. So yeah, I'm the father of the Sabbath, I guess, in this Jewish celebration we have going on.
Let's get it.
Okay, yeah. Please introduce me from now on as the father of the Sabbath.
Will do. And to make sure I recreate this with as much realism as possible, I will be emotionally distant and read Tom Clancy novels.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that we are still a podcast which is ostensibly about video games.
Allegedly.
I always love whenever we tag Joe in because it gives us so much excuse to talk about old man shit.
Thanks, man.
And boy howdy, there have been some excuses to talk about old man shit which have come up in the last several months. The first one, which is kind of like weird and dumb, is the Neo Geo re-entering production.
I was actually unaware of this. Like, so do you mean like base model Neo Geo, or like are they making a miniaturized version?
Oh yeah,
base model Neo Geo.
No. It's in this chat, I think. Let me see if I can pull it back up.
Yeah. You use your existing Neo Geo cartridges.
Okay, that's insane. Right? Is this a Saudi deal?
It is, in fact, a Saudi deal.
Well, the desert keeps those machines young, so that must be what's going on.
Also, the decision that SNK is apparently, air quote, a lifestyle brand.
Oh, right. That's because they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're looking for a new grift.
Yeah. And so there is Neo Geo hats, Neo Geo t-shirts, trying to, like, I guess, recreate the this is a really weird sentence to say in 2026. Recreate the success that Atari has been experiencing.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it took me a second to parse that.
Yeah.
Are there tracksuits available? Because like, if it was not associated with a regime that murders journalists, I would gladly wear some like SNK themed tracksuits.
They did make the Fatal Cutie hat, which is a whole other thing.
Was that? But I thought that was pre-Saudi.
That was. I think it is pre-Saudi. It's before they outright bought the company. That's true.
Yep. But a speculation machine that we have spun up on this show is that the company which actually handles the business of producing the newly produced Atari 2600s and the newly produced Atari VCSs says that there is a third company that they're working with right now, which has not yet announced their return to producing a retro video game console. And I'm curious is there an answer to that question that would make you groan? And is there an answer to that question that would make you excited?
Wait. So we're speculating about what the third console is, or we're speculating?
Yes.
Oh, it's the Jaguar. You know, that thing that everyone loves.
Oh, but it can't be the Jaguar because that's a third company. They're already doing business with the Zombie Corpse of Atari.
Oh, I think I misinterpreted the question. I thought you were saying 2600 VCS, and what is the third pillar of that? And I was like, yeah, the Jaguar, of course.
Yeah, so they're already the company which is handling manufacturing is already working with Atari, and so the resurrected 2600 is doing very well. Which is also a weird sentence to say. Jesus,
they've been doing good business. Is what it is.
Yeah, but there's apparently another company which is going to start manufacturing on an old console. I'm like, who could it be? Who could it be?
Who owns Casio now?
Ooh, I don't.
Because I want it to be the Loopy, just for the fucking memes. Oh. I want it to be the Loopy. For those who don't know, it was a girl-focused console in the 90s, which like sounds as cool. It looks as cool as you would think it is. It just also wasn't supported because it was the 90s and it was focusing on girl gamers.
Right.
Which means it received very little investment and very little buy-in and very little everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to blame women. That is to blame the industry as it existed. And continues to.
Am I dumb? Is this actually... Does this have like a built-in projector in it?
I don't think that's the case. I forget what the physical spec
it's a printer.
Is.
Yeah.
Printer. Yeah, it's a printer. Okay. That's really cool, honestly.
Yeah, I wish it had. The only reason I even know much about it at all was going to Long Island Retro Games, or is that it? Long Island Retro Games Expo or whatever. I think I always get the acronym confused with PRGE, but there they had like a big presentation on the Loopy and girl games generally, and it was sick.
Oh yeah,
that was 2 years ago, I think.
I think it'd be cool if the Loopy came back.
I can't think of what else would be. Brian, what about 3DO? Do you think that could be it?
Oh man, somewhere Trip Hawkins is tingling. Man, I think the trouble. Okay, here's the problem with bringing back the 3DO. Is that the 3DO was originally like a set of specs licensed to different hardware manufacturers. So like that's why there's a Panasonic 3DO and a Samsung 3DO and a Sanyo 3DO. And as much as that darn thing cost, I think that like the fact that there were like a half dozen 3DOs was another one of the reasons why the thing couldn't get traction. Like, so I'd probably discount the 3DO. I was just sitting here going like, Vectrix? Question mark in my head. But I doubt that either. I'm also going to discount all the ones which are like functionally ancient personal computers because those are all just coming back anyway.
Wait, tell me more about that. Like when you say coming back, in what scale, or are you just talking about purely open source, like people doing like recreations?
Oh no! Like if your crazy ass wants to order a Commodore 64, you can.
That sounds great.
Yes. If you want that big chunky, kind of brown, kind of gray, like baker's box shape, fully available. And a lot of the personal computing options of that era are reappearing on the market as commercial objects by whoever is the current rights holder. Like there's new Commodores, new ZX Spectrums, etc. I want to keep on. All right, I'm coming back to it. I think. All right, my guess is it's a new Sega Master System.
Fair. So do you think the Master System, like a classic Master System type thing, would sell best in Europe, Japan? Probably not the US, but Europe or Japan. Or I guess Brazil. What am I talking about? Brazil.
Yeah, Latam. Come on.
I think it would. I think there would definitely be like some novelty to American consumers because Sega didn't really like take off like a rocket in North America until the Genesis, and so there's a measure of like, what is this? Question mark to the Master System. But I think it would probably be. I think there's enough of a market there across those different spaces. Plus, with the announcement that one of the two new Cuphead games, which is coming out, is being designed targeting Sega Master System architecture and will release, in addition to like on modern consoles, will release on Sega Master System with a cartridge and a box, etc. Like, okay, so new Cuphead game on Sega Master System. It's kind of a head scratcher. It's like, well, why would they do that? And my guess is that like they know something we don't.
No, that makes sense. A question: have you looked into that? Because I was trying to find out whether they were using AI to make that, or if they were like actually getting someone who was like a hardcore assembly programmer. The reason I ask is like I couldn't find much about the company making it, and also like there have been people demonstrating using AI to make like assembly language games, and obviously there's some issues around that, but I'm curious like which you think is happening here.
I was I guess able to find like some pieces that thankfully went into that, which is that they did get hardcore assembly nerds.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So I mean that's neat. So new Cuphead for the Master System. So like I think that for me, like I think that's the thing. I suppose it could be. I suppose it could be that they're making a new Genesis, but they're going to sell Master System converters.
Or do you think they just do dual slot?
Yeah, or it could be like the new 2600 accommodates 7800s natively in the slot. So maybe like you can plug in like a 2600 or 7800 game into like the single slot, and it'll just work.
We should have had Patrick on for this episode. He would know. He would just know.
Yeah.
I had a different idea, actually. We've talked about it being like Sega for a while, but I agree that the Master System announcement is a clue, but I would be interested if they were trying to remake the Game Gear, or maybe even like an improved Game Gear that could like handle Master System like cartridges like natively, like a
Okay,
Game Gear Advance.
there is smoke to that fire too, because there is a reliable Sega leaker who has never been wrong.
Damn.
Yeah, who has talked about like Sega's like parts orders for something that looks like a resurrected Game Gear. So like that is something which the retro gaming community has been following. That it looks like that they've already ordered something like 30,000 screens, and like they're ginning up manufacturing for shells for a USB-C charging resurrected Game Gear. So like the idea of a Game Gear which can like accommodate Master System cartridges, like that's I think that's also a valid guess.
I think there's a real angle to it,
Oh.
like even beyond like retro, like I think like portable stuff from like trusted companies is like less common these days. Like all the major platform, well, I say all the major platform holders, but I'm really just talking about Nintendo's consistent effort and like Sony's attempts. But like they've fully like shelved like their portable strategy as like its own unique thing. Like even like the Switch 2 is supposed to be like more console-ish than like portable than like the Switch was before. And so I don't know. Maybe there's a way in there. Like especially since like people are still making like Genesis level games, like maybe there could be an interest in like reviving the Game Gear.
But okay, Joe, you invoked AI, which gives me a good hook to talk about a thing which has me upset. I went from so excited to heartbroken in like the space of 8 hours when I heard, "Hey Brian, here's a new Crazy Taxi," to "Hey Brian, the new Crazy Taxi uses generative AI."
Like, how are they using it? Are they like creating cities? Like just are they just creating fantastic cities, or like what are they doing?
It's mostly background assets. It's like
yeah,
it's for like art for like billboards, and I think like other background elements is what they.
We don't want to spend on artists approach.
Right.
I'm gonna take this moment to preface with, hey, my thoughts and opinions do not reflect the company I work for. OGs know what company I work for, and yeah, Brian, if you want to say similarly before we go into this conversation.
Oh shit, that's a really good point. Hey, I'm going to say some things, and they don't necessarily reflect the company that I work for. Real ones will know the company that I work for.
But yeah, no, this is definitely that's interesting. I guess like how did they confirm this? Was this brought out in an interview or did they feature it? Because I feel like I've definitely noticed some companies are like, yeah, and we're doing this, and like they either disclose that to investors as like, and this is how we're decreasing the price of something, or they disclose it during an interview to be like, this is how technologically advanced we are. So like, what angle did they take?
This is a case where we get to thank Gabe the Knife Man. Valve has a mandatory AI disclosure if you're releasing on PC on the Valve storefront.
That's so good.
So if you're using Gen AI and you have a Steam page listing, you have to disclose that you used it and how you used it. And so like as various companies like made their presentation during Jeff Keighley's summer barbecue, there were some unfortunate revelations. I was very, very disappointed to see like crazy. I'm like, man, what is even happening here? Like, this is a series which has existed since the freaking Clinton administration. Like, what do you need Gen AI for? Come on, just. So disappointing.
I forget who makes Crazy Taxi.
Sega.
Oh, okay, it's a Sega first-person thing. Yeah, I'm curious if Sega. Do you know if modern Sega has gone like deep in on AI? Because I know some Japanese companies have, because it's like one of the few frontiers that I've noticed Japanese game companies getting in on quote unquote things early, rather than like a lot of things with web stuff and microservices and the like. And so it's weird that it's been so embraced in Japanese development circles in ways that other new technologies have taken a lot longer for.
Um, and I know that they've gone in hard on it. Let's see here, and then that like Crazy Taxi is not the only game part of their announced slate that uses it. Like so I don't know if like other games which they haven't announced were just like in development before they went all in. Um, but yeah, it's so disappointing. Like it was definitely kind of like an emotional up and down for us as like games would get announced. Like I know that one that Tegan was like really looking forward to and very high on was the 1666 Amsterdam, um, and that one is also using Gen AI created art assets throughout the game. Let's see here. And there was like a third one um, that that I remember like being disappointed by when I saw. Um, but yeah, like I was really surprised at just how many games that this was happening and how many cases where they just thought that they could ride this shit out and that it would not be like so like wholly rejected by the market.
Well, like there was like what was it like 5 or 6 months where there were like pepperings of like devs saying like everyone you know is using Gen AI now. Like there seemed to be like that kind of sentiment like under the hood. It's showing up in these like announcements lines up, I think, with that kind of expectation.
Yeah.
I'll say that like I think some of that is because like in the software development world writ large, that is true for better or worse.
Sure.
No, I mean yeah, and like so I think games is like I won't say unique, but I will say like relatively interesting in that there is more of a pushback even within the industry. While like in the rest of development, it's almost just become this idea of like toothpaste out of the tube, completely ignoring the economic infrastructure and political aspect of it. People are just totally ignoring that in favor of like this. I guess like what is the opposite of moral panic, where everyone just like frenzies on like this feeding frenzy on like funding for this particular project. Like it's much stronger than the old VR days. It's much stronger than like the blockchain days. Like it's just this idea that it's like this omnipresent like destiny that like will happen no matter what anyone does, and like people are either in favor of that or resigned to it. And so games are an interesting place in that like there is significant pushback within the industry, and I have a feeling some of that is because a lot of those programmers work more closely with artists and designers than in the standard software world where that's super siloed off.
Mm.
That'd be my guess.
Mm.
But I guess one thing I want to ask, and I'm sorry if you guys have talked about this before, but like, Gen AI as a tool, like, let's say that if circumstances around it were changed, like, how would you feel about, say, like, if it had been sourced entirely on stuff that had been, voluntarily given up as sourcing? Like, would the valence of the conversation change, or would it also require, like, hey, there needs to be ways in which this is not used maliciously for like arms and like targeting or surveillance, or would it also require like, hey, not displacing people? Because I do worry that I'm not someone who's like, oh, AI is toothpaste out of the tube in the whole sense of like, oh, the package that we have right now is destined. But I am someone in the, this does exist. It is like a thing that will be forever in the historical record, and people will try to use it in some way. Like, what are ways in which it could have happened alternatively and which it could still be done in the future that would make it less of a, I guess, total harm in like what we're doing in society? And please tell me if this is like leading us way off track, but this is something I've been
Oh no,
thinking
no,
about.
this is absolutely fine. Like I feel like for me, like baselines include, like anything which is included in training data. It has been, like it is allowed to be sourced. Like no stolen data in the training set. Also, like I would want whatever guidance the model has to like not prioritize user engagement above all else, because boy howdy, that's not safe.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I want a model to be like, yeah, man, I don't know. Or just like flat out like refuse to do things. Like that's gotta be a baseline. I also need there to be like significant, meaningful development on the cooling requirements, because the current water consumption levels are just not ethical. And there's a thing that Jeff Bezos said in the last week.
Oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
The Nestle of our times.
Saying human water consumption is getting in the way of AI advancement. Holy shit. Wow. Wow. Wowie, wow, wow, wow. And I look at like major urban centers where there have been like AI data centers now for a while, and the like significant detrimental impact they've had to like both air quality and noise pollution, and how that is like disproportionately impacting marginalized communities. And saying like, okay, so we have this like really loud thing which makes its communities dirty and then drinks all the water, and then on top of that uses stolen data, and and because of its prioritization of user engagement, um, allows folks with mental illness to spiral. Like there's so many just like baseline decisions that turn something which could be like a potentially helpful tool into something which is just like fundamentally evil. It's kind of it's like somebody's like, hey man, what if we develop super cigarettes? Just like Jesus.
They've been working on.
Yeah, I've definitely. Oh, sorry.
No, we're cool.
I was to say I've definitely had the thought about, a lot of people say, quote unquote, the problem with AI isn't its existence, but like capitalism and the incentives therein. Sure. And I think that's true, but I think it's overpliant in the sense that people don't then therefore say like, what would a socialized, system of dealing with AI training, implementation, and like, infrastructure look like? And like, again, you can definitely look at this as like, hey, I'm giving in to the project of AI, but also kind of like, hey, there might be a world where like a gun can be bad or a gun can be useful. And like obviously there's transformative aspects to the technology regardless of who holds it and how they use it, but I do kind of wonder like how you could use it in a socialized way. And like this is going to sound so lame after talking about something very real, but I've been thinking about Krypton and fucking Brainiac, and just like the way that Brainiac, even in a society that was like very socialized, was able to undermine it by like prioritizing, certain things. And in that case, it was its own existence, which I don't think is what an AI would do really, because I think the AI sentience thing is mostly bullshit. Sure. But, like, I do wonder how you could really make a society such that one, you generally had harmony, freedom, etc. But two, you could control a technology as like, I guess, fundamentally changing as this. And I don't know what that looks like. And I think if I did, I would, have already made my own like Atlantis perfect state. But that's, for another time.
I might be being a bit naive, Joe, but like I don't know. Like I feel like, and this, I want you to walk with me on this. I feel like the way that like AI has entered like human life could have been, there could have been a lot more harm reduction, a lot more like control if it was just
Oh, 100%.
like regulated
100%.
the way that like I don't know, like the way we've treated solar. You know what I mean? Like
Ugh.
like
I wish it had as many boundaries on it as solar does.
right, and that's what I mean. Like for people who don't know, like solar energy, obviously, because it disrupted the capitalist system. Like you couldn't. Why the fuck would you pay for gas when like you would get free energy from the sun or whatever? And so like whenever like solar technology is like discussed, at least in the states, it's like it has to jump through like 82 different hoops like every single time, and like they always pick a fight about like how are we going to store the energy that's left over and ask all these kinds of questions that like AI never actually really got in the public square. You know what I mean? They just kind
And
of
to be
turned
fair,
it
those
on.
questions of solar are real. Like
Yes.
the question of like how you do the power grid is actually really important. And
Yes.
like solar, people like say, oh, solar creating more energy than the grid can handle is a good thing. It's like, no, actually, that does lead to a lot of fucking problems.
Right.
But AI has just been given a fucking carte blanche on this, while solar has not.
Right. And I think, and part of that, like, I think a world that would contribute to something like that is just the kind of things that have, like if AI had its own EPA and, like, if it wasn't able, like, the fact that it prioritizes, like, user, like, interaction is a thing that would get flagged in testing in small environments. Like, if they had to
Hmm.
present that to a board before they showed it to the public. You know what I mean? Like the AI needs to jump through hoops, and like there are people who are deciding, wait, we can use this to like own a country or whatever, and so those people with those means like put it out in the way that they did to like try to grasp control in the way that is happening right now. But I feel like if they were just if there was like a system of checks and balances that could respond to anomalies like this, I don't know where we would get one, but like maybe we've seen something like it before, maybe even in this country. Like
Yeah, the
I
former EPA.
yeah, right. Like I think like a lot of these issues like would at the very least, if not being reduced, if not completely eliminated, would at least not affect as many people as it is doing right now.
Yeah,
I
no, for sure. Go ahead.
I and I don't know if I'm gonna sound alarmist here, but if I do, I'm gonna own it. Like I when I think about like dead internet theory and AI, like I really do worry that like in addition to like this capitalist urge to just destroy like as a priority, um, you know, for like let's first things first, let's use AI to destroy creative work.
Mhm.
It seems to be that because of this, like the training guidance on these things to like answer with confidence bullshit answers and blame it on like predictive text patterns, it's going to like serve up all of these like half baked answers, which are then going to be used to create automatically generated websites,
Mhm.
which are then used to feed these models. So it just becomes this thing which is like it's eating its own shit. Um, you know, it barfs out an answer, and then the answer that it barfs out is used to create a website. And then later on, when it's crawling new websites to feed the model, it'll eat something which it barfed out 6 months ago, and that was used to automatically register a domain. And as human beings retreat from the experience of surfing the web, because things like Google now try to shunt them into not doing so by feeding them an AI barfed up answer, like like it's weird because like I think about these like things that are like fundamentally dangerous in the hands of users, and it. All right, do I sound alarmist when I say AI feels like the burning of the Library of Alexandria? Um,
I mean, I'd only say slight, like maybe in terms of level. I mean, I think I on this show maybe years ago compared it to the tragedy of the commons. Like, it feels like a lot of things are being put behind, like
Yeah.
paywalls and stuff now because like they're afraid of getting fucking scraped. They're afraid of getting scraped, and because of that, it's making it so the only place you can get information for free is the place least good to get the free information from.
Oh, so
And
bad.
yeah, no, it's definitely a worrying trend, and I've been thinking a lot about this. I mean, so I think Brian might have set me up to say this earlier, but long story short, me and my fiance are expecting, and so I think I've been thinking a lot about this in the future and just kind of like how I want to approach technology as someone who works in technology, but also who understands that like, hey, a lot of what we think about technology is actually technology's implementation under a particular economic system and political regime,
Sure.
and that like it's not all uniformly good or bad, and that how do you kind of try to carve out like a good use of technology such that you can hopefully educate the next generation in the best way possible. And I need to think a lot more about this, frankly, but I wanted to bring some of this here today because I figured it'd be a large topic of conversation given, I don't know, the state of the world.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Oh. Man, it's so much, so much.
I think there are a lot. I think there are a lot of traps. You know what I mean? Um, I don't. There's a weird part of me that doesn't feel like there are more traps than there used to be. Like from week to week, sure. You know what I mean? But like in the grand scheme of things, I don't know. I feel like having a child that, if you're not paying attention, will be afflicted by AI psychosis isn't a higher risk than like not paying attention to where my kids are in the 90s and they get like scooped up by like a kidnapper, or even like, I don't know, 30 years before, where like a group of kids who like aren't careful in the woods like gets attacked by a bear or something. But I don't know, that's probably an oversimplification, but generally speaking, I think there are like, newer risks because the technology is new, but I feel like that's something that we can probably focus on because the other problems are solved. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't know.
To some degree, but I think both of those are kind of non-representative because, like, for instance, like kidnapping in the
Sure.
90s was like not nearly as big of a deal as like certain other ways. I mean, like, frankly, just drunk driving, which, yeah, it's
Real.
good that we've,
Yeah.
tried to deal with that, and maybe it's getting better. I mean, no, it is getting better, but like still maybe not as good as it could be. And smoking, both of those were
Mhm.
much bigger killers than like kidnapping and the like. And I'm not saying that to dismiss that, more just like I do think there are I think, yeah, maybe zooming out and having like a historical perspective here is important. Looking at the way each of those is resultant from like systematic failures, like I don't know, the failure to regulate tobacco and the failure to
Right.
make safe roads. I was going to say regulate driving, and I'm like, that's not true. We do regulate driving. What we don't do is regulate like road construction in such a way, and like pay for public transit in such a way that
Right.
people don't have to drive when they're fucking wasted. And then also,
Mhm.
paying police to bust up people who are drunk on the street, and so like they almost inherently have to get in a fucking car or else get sent to jail. So there's a lot of systematic issues here that I think this boils down to, and I guess the question then becomes like, in addition to what I can do personally for my own kids and my own community, like how do we generalize this
Sure.
to society as a whole? And obviously we're not going to solve that in the course of this podcast, but I think
Right.
this is inevitably what discussions about AI and its like participation in our society turn into.
Mhm. Yeah.
I,
Man.
I do look at, like, say, the scale and density of problems in the United States beget by alcohol usage, which like led to, unfortunately, like reactionary right wing political movements, like the early 20th century and late 19th century, and
Wait, are you referring to are you referring to prohibition in kind of the way that like was
right? But
okay.
it was one of those things where like, you know, like there were legitimately a lot of problems caused by how much booze was getting consumed in the United States, and the ultimate reaction was prohibition, which did not stop the consumption of alcohol. It instead like created like a parallel market, and then meant that the only people who were like safely drinking were the wealthy. But the density of like, you know, even with like what drunk driving is left or what alcoholism is left, and the number of guys who still go woo really loudly at a wing bar while watching a football game, that even with what is left there, it's still nowhere near where it was, like say like 1890.
Oh, 100%. When you just hear
Right.
the amount people drank on their way to work before, I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I read about like how much fucking booze was being consumed in this country, and it was like let me get this straight. Someone would be 4 beers deep at 3 in the afternoon. Yes, someone would be 4 beers deep at 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, weren't they working? Yes, they were working. No shit. Just I don't know if we have that much time though to like, you know, decelerate with AI though.
That's fair.
Yeah, like so there was like a there ultimately ended up being like a cultural deceleration with booze in the United States. But I think that the attendant problems with AI are like much larger. I don't know if we can afford to like fuck around for a couple hundred years before we find the sweet spot.
I think there'll inevitably have to be a market downturn. And like I think even the biggest supporters of AI, unless they're absolutely delusional, would recognize that there has to be a market downturn at some point, even if it eventually comes back up. And I think a lot of the opportunity to organize and figure out like what the frameworks around it will be at that time, because it will be at the nadir of its power. That being said, it's being propped up by the U.S. government, which, you know, that's what it is. So like we'll see what can happen in that like very precious organizing time. And I'm not saying that then therefore push it all off till then. I think these are conversations that need to be had before then. But I think, frankly, in judo, there's this concept of kuzushi, which means like off balancing, and that's like the time where you actually execute a throw is when someone is at the perfect fulcrum point on like a movement, and like that's the kuzushi of like AI and regulation, is like strike while it's in a weird place and might be on a downturn.
That makes sense. Worked for the Great Depression.
To try and like swing us back toward what is in theory the crux of the show, which is video games. I want to talk about the implications of AI on the hardware market, because boy howdy, if you had told me 10 years ago that the development of AI was going to slowly turn the U.S. video game market and indeed the global video game market into Brazil, I would have called you a liar. But here we are.
This is the real reason people were playing soccer. You know, they couldn't afford the game consoles, so they had to go play soccer and do jiu-jitsu and vale tudo. So, you know, just get into a fight in the street and then play ball afterwards, kids. No, but yeah, it's absolutely insane. Like I don't play a ton of video games these days recently, and like I've been thinking about like, oh, eventually I will want to buy something, especially with a kid. They're eventually going to want to play something. I'm just like, damn, man, what is the fucking market going to look like at that time? Because I remember like the Bitcoin days and how expensive like, you know, video cards were at that time, and this is way crazier, and it's like absolutely insane to me. I'm hoping, Brian, this is the you know how we talked about like, oh, we miss weird Nintendo, weird handheld Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'm half wondering if, we're just going to get a generation of Gunpei Yokois. It's like, well, we're going to do the best with shitty old technology because we can't afford anything else.
Oh. This episode brought to you by Playdate.
Playdate's kind of goated, though.
Yeah.
I like Playdate, mostly.
I
do want to say there's a part of me that is still in denial about the longevity of like the current situation as like RE like video cards, because I feel like it's all speculative, right? Like no one is really holding the money right now, right? Like there's a bunch of circular deals that I think will collapse before like they like actually shift the industry. It's going to shift everything else, which is a different problem.
But that is already has shifted the industry. Like,
well, like okay, so like you remember how like from like in 2020 at like the apex of like lockdown and whatnot, like grocers started raising their prices, but it turns out it wasn't because of increasing costs, it was because of price gouging, right? Like I agree that we are probably being price gouged, or rather everyone is being price gouged as related to computer hardware because of the deals that AI is circulating. I'm not sure if those can actually be permanent price increases, especially if what is happening right now, people are realizing that like the largest AI companies aren't making the money that they're promising people that they are, and will have to renege on their deals, like if not just like file for bankruptcy en masse. And then like what happens is that the hardware that Nvidia is building right now to satisfy the demand that they've agreed to deals for are not getting paid. And now they just have a bunch of hardware that like is not being paid for at the market that at the rate that it was initially being paid for, and like those prices are going to collapse. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know how soon that will happen, but
I have a serious question. How often in history do graphics card prices for the same model go down? I ask because, hear me out. So many inflation measures show that like when things get inflated in price, they never go back down. They just slow their growth rate to a point where they're like a similar percentage of someone's like income again. And like it is definitely possible that like graphics cards come back down. Like I think I have seen that like post Bitcoin like explosion, but like it doesn't come down back to like what it was before. And so what I think the best case scenario is that prices just slow their rate of growth after like a fallout. But like I could be totally wrong. That's just my guess.
No, that's fair. They would probably wait for another generation and try to sell at the same price, and then like, yeah, no, I can see a slowing as opposed to a crash.
The other question also becomes like, hey, yeah, if we have just inflation generally in like costs, then it's just like, yeah, of course I'll pay $2,000. That's fucking nothing now because all our money is worthless. But I'm not predicting massive inflation, but I'm just saying that is another way they could get around changing their price by just like, oh, the value of money's changed.
Right.
If I want to be really negative.
That could get messy too. Like the dollar is becoming weaker, and that's its own thing.
We'll see if the current outlines of a plan of world peace work out.
Is there any way I can get a loaf of bread? I've got this PlayStation 5.
Oh, God.
That's probably the title. Y'all can fight over it. Argue with the wall,
But yeah,
so,
go ahead.
I don't know if you guys have covered this, but wasn't some old line of graphics cards being put back into production like one generation back, or was it memory? Was it DDR4 or something? Let me look this up. I think like they're putting a production line that's like a generation or two behind back into circulation and like rebuilding it and like having to make entirely new supply chains because of how expensive memory is right now. I think it was covered on a C++ podcast I listened to, or no, I think it's the podcast Algorithms Plus Data Structures Equal Programming. Let me look this up silently in the background.
Okay. I do want to say, I would more readily believe that old memories being put back into circulation, because I know that like there are motherboards that still accept DDR4. Like everyone's trying to push the DDR5, but I think we're still like I feel like the ports are still the same.
It's graphics cards. The RTX 3060 and 3050 are are being manufactured again.
Okay.
Which chat should I send this to?
You can put it in the one that we're in right now. For this call.
Oh wait, never mind. Edit this out. I'm just gonna be like, how do I Discord? Oh, okay, I found it. Oh my god. I'm an old man. Yeah, earlier I was like, when Brian said old man, I was just like, you know what, I think that's a little unfair, and now I'm just like, it is absolutely fair.
Joe, I was going to say at the time, you've been an old man the entire time I've met you, and that's great. The entire time I've known you.
But yeah, just send it over. Yeah, they're bringing back DDR4 because, as you mentioned, like a lot of computers still take DDR4.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay.
So it is both memory and graphics cards?
Yep, bro.
What up? We're so back, 3060 gang. Let's go.
Oh,
okay, Brian. I'm not gonna lie. There's some part of me that's like overjoyed that a generation is going long, in terms of just like, oh, this is how you get the good shit out of like the current stuff. But then when I recognize what it's doing to the economy as a whole, I'm like, oh no.
Oh, yeah.
I feel if it's any solace, I think the economy is doing it to them. You know what I mean?
That's
like
fair.
There's a feedback, but yeah.
Because I just think of the original Game Boy. I'm like, by the end of the Game Boy, you got the most insane shit that should not have been possible. I guess also the NES, because the NES in Japan went, 3 years earlier than it did in the US, so it was like a very old in the tooth system by the time it went away.
I am. Oh God, I'm just sitting here going. I'm thinking about like how this generation of consoles has definitely not had an easy time because it launched during the Rona, and like because of the size of AAA development teams and the length of AAA development cycles now, the first several years of this console cycle were like, and now we present Bubsy Remastered.
Oh yeah,
and that wasn't great.
Sure it is fine.
And we've gotten for a while like just so much just like absolutely tepid, risk averse bullshit because people with graphs are like, we won't approve this. No, like give them more Bubsy Remastered. And I'm just like, man, like so the idea of a generation going long so that way we get the cool shit. I'm like, what would today's Shantae look like?
That's a good call out. I was originally thinking of Kirby's Adventure, the NES one, but I think Shantae is a better example.
Man.
Well, yeah, no, you do have a point though, because like I think because of the cost of making games now, you're right. We would get something like, oh, this is like technologically Red Dead Redemption 4. 7 million people died to make this game.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's really, we made a Philosopher's Stone out of people, and it's a video game.
God, fucking damn it.
The collector's edition comes with a photo of a sad widow.
Oh my god, yeah. No, so that's true actually, because I guess in the Game Boy era, when you like, made something at the end of the life cycle, like, yeah, you press like a team of 5. Or no, like it was Game Boy. You press a team of 3 for like 7 months, which is like, and they would be working really fucking hard, but it was 3 people. Now you're like conscripting an army and kind of killing them.
Once again, this episode brought to you by Playdate. If you want teams of 1 to 3 who work very hard for 7 fucking months, Playdate.
But yeah, I was just thinking like the economic realities of the game industry right now, and like effectively cyclical work is a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, like it's weird. But you know what? can I just blame Activision for this? Honestly, I feel like there was a period of time where like game developer was a steady gig, at least like at Blizzard, and then like
Ooh.
the acquisition by Activision and like the slow breaking of that company, which took like what 2 decades or so, and like while Blizzard wasn't like an industry standard thing, they were definitely like the beacon, and like maybe that's more indicative of just like uh the industry itself, slowly breaking itself. But man, like you could just see it like in real time, where it used to be a steady thing that is slowly turned into this like cyclical contracted like gig work for like some of the most profitable things on the planet because they've extracted all the value out of it. And it's just like shit, man. It's not Activision's fault, but like they're definitely like a prime example, probably one of the more public ones.
Yeah, I was thinking about like obviously public ownership of media companies is like the big ultimate cause. And like
Sure.
I don't know what the fuck we do about that because like yeah, I know a lot of very talented games folks who have shipped like amazing games who just I just see them like once a year just like looking for work and like these are friends of mine. And like
Yeah.
sadly my contacts are like more and more out of date so I can't really, refer them to places anymore, but it's just like fucking hard out there. That's a big part of the reason I'm not in the industry anymore.
That makes sense.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but it absolutely broke my heart. For the first time ever, Iron Galaxy Studios had layoffs this year.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's fucking
Yeah.
sad.
And they released a statement when it happened, and the statement was that they said that the time had come for them to face the reality that the industry was never going to return to what they considered normal.
That's fair.
Ooh. That's definitely fair. I mean, I think I knew that intellectually, but hearing it now from them, it really hits home.
Yeah, and there are studios that like issue they're like, oh, we say goodbye to some family member today's statements, and when I do, like I say, like fuck you, you put out this statement like once a year, like
Yep.
and like when that happens, like it's hard to take it seriously. You're just like, this is April for you. April is firing season. Or they
They're the
pull shit like, yeah,
they're the M Bison of capitalism.
Yeah. God. For me, it was April.
The day Bobby Kotick graced your village.
Jesus Christ. But when Iron Galaxy does it, who has never had, like, it was a point of pride for the company.
Right.
So I was willing to give their "we lost family member" statement a lot more grace. Because it's not an annual cycle for them, and it was that line about how like they have to face the reality that like the industry is never going to go back to where it was before 2020. It's like, oh man,
because like I feel a lot of these statements are, they're, well, I mean, we know this. So the statements are generally like window dressing, but I remember Iron Galaxy's statement and it felt like there was some real like introspection there and not just like a facsimile of
it. This is a good chance to like pivot into the current state of Microsoft and the current state of Xbox. So, Joe, we have not had you on since Phil Spencer left Xbox.
Oh, since uncool dad Phil Spencer left Xbox.
Yeah, since I learned it from you, Dad. Phil Spencer left Xbox. And wow, he sure did. He sure did make some choices. Now, there's some fallout. Like, so we got a statement from the current leader of Xbox, Asha Sharma, and talking about how Xbox is going to have to face significant changes in order to continue to exist. And one of the things which came out in the last week, and I was really glad that we were recording this week, was that it looks like they're closing at least 3 studios.
Who are they? I assume I'm gonna know them.
Yeah. So they're closing Compulsion.
What did Compulsion make?
Compulsion was they did a We Happy Few.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's not one that I figured would especially sting. I mean, it sucks people are going to lose their jobs.
No, for sure.
Yeah. They're closing Ninja Theory.
Okay, that one I know.
Yeah. And here's the one that makes me want to get my little pitchfork. Double Fine.
Ooh. Yeah. So is it just now that we're kind of in this era, what does the grand history of Microsoft picking up indie darlings and just fucking doing nothing with them look like? What is the grand trajectory now that we have a complete archetype look like? Because I'm also thinking about them. I'm thinking about Rare.
I do want to say some of them are trying to spin back out, if not only to just finish their projects. And I don't know if you saw, but the I forget the actual studio name, but the people who make the Hellblade series,
Ninja Theory
and whatnot. Oh, that is Ninja Theory. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ninja Theory had their big flashy announcement during the Xbox showcase, and Xbox had fully planned to cut them already. And there was an interview that suggested that the reason Xbox put out the trailer, despite the fact that they weren't going to hold on to the studio, was to try to help them find someone else to buy them and whatnot. Hopefully that some of them will survive long enough to release their next work. But I don't know. I think not Nintendo, Jesus Christ. Microsoft is trying to slim down altogether and pretend that the last era didn't happen in the way that Phil Spencer did with his predecessor. And I wonder if some of them end up being bought back over time. If it's just a short-term solution rather than an identity shift.
So I think a lot of what I hear around this, and you guys are probably better informed than me, but I hear two different trends, and one of which is just oh, Microsoft is trying to reestablish their identity, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're trying to. Is it them or PlayStation who's we're not going to release on other platforms now? Is that PlayStation?
It is both of them. It is both of them.
Okay, and so oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Microsoft is renewing their commitment to exclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's part of it, but it doesn't look like that they have the existing agreements that they have to release multi-platform are not being reneged on.
Oh, okay. Right. So just going forward. So the reason I bring that up is people are also, they're also jettisoning these. So one, what the fuck are they going to have to put exclusively on their consoles? And two, I guess, how are the Xbox fan communities sort of approaching this? Because I see a lot of people complaining about exclusivity, but at the same time, it's the brands mostly, I mean, consoles as a single brand mostly only exist due to exclusivity and the kind of economics around that. And whether or not that's good or bad, that's just a truth of being your own identity. Nintendo gets a pass on that from a lot of people simply by virtue of their history and their place and people's childhood nostalgia. But how is this kind of being responded to, these countervailing efforts of oh, we're selling off what makes us unique, and at the same time saying that we're going to have exclusives?
The Microsoft fan base was like very, very heated for a long time when Phil Spencer was saying things like, "Oh, we want our friends who have PlayStations to, explore the world of the Master Chief." Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the Xbox fan base was very much, well, then why did I buy this damn thing? And the Sony community had a similar reaction, and both of them came to like similar but slightly different um, uh, conclusions. And Microsoft's was that they're like, oh, we're going to continue to like weigh what games need to be exclusive for the Xbox community, and there was apparently like a little bit of a hullabaloo because there had already been significant dev work done on the PS5 version of the next Gears of War game. But Asha Sharma like made the call the day before their presentation to cancel Gears of War E-Day for the PS5 in order to ensure that there would be a flagship title that would be exclusive for the Xbox Series S and X this year. And what Sony has decided to do going forward is that premier Sony titles that are multiplayer will be multi-platform, but they're big, stinking, expensive single-player games. Those will be Sony exclusive. So any future Uncharted or Last of Us or what have you, or God of War, those will be console exclusive, like the upcoming Wolverine game. Yeah, like it. In both cases, like the responses are weird and slow and have left, like fan bases like feeling unattended to. Like, so both Sony and Microsoft fans, like the thing that they share in common is that they don't feel like their purchases have been justified. And I think that also, like, I don't think that's just an exclusive thing. I feel like, again, this has been a very weird generation for consoles, and it's I think it's telling that as far as like the traditional game market goes, PC now accounts for over 50% of it. Like just about all of the gaming I have done in the last year has been PC based. Like I spend so much time on my Steam Deck, so much time on my Steam Deck. Like shit, I was playing demos from Steam Next Fest earlier this morning, but I think that that the thing which is missing is that like so much of what has been chased generation after generation for like I'd say like especially like the last two generation cycles has felt like graphical fidelity and as like there is has like the prevailing market sentiment has pushed graphics toward realism with like fewer games having like any kind of like visual stylization which like hews away from realism. And as we reach this kind of like end state of that, people are just like, well, what is it? What is the game that like justifies this like $500, $600, $800 I spent on this console? Where is the thing that makes it feel like this whole hobby is worth it? Like, it's so easy to like look back through like a lifetime of buying video game consoles and go like, well, where is the game that I bought for each console that like made it feel like that purchase was worth it? and God, and I know it's such an easy one, but I remember getting a Nintendo 64 and putting Super Mario 64 into that cartridge slot, flipping on the TV and going, "Holy shit! This feels, exponentially like it felt like it felt like a leap." And I think that's part of the regret that like the larger game market has now, is that like as games shift toward more realistic graphical presentations and more cinematic presentations, like opportunities to experience that sensation of a leap are like less and less likely. Speech over.
No, I was going to say, I think that's all completely fair. And like, yeah, if you were even just to like make a program that just looked at like the density of objects that were discernible in a scene, you would definitely see like a major tapering off point in the last couple of generations.
Yeah.
And I saw an interesting argument online recently that was like, hey, the last time this leap, quote unquote, should have happened and didn't was VR. I think VR like was poised to be like this amazing technological leap. It had many other issues, such as being an incredibly isolating and weird hardware-based way of enjoying things. But I do think that was like the last time we had the opportunity to really have something new, and we didn't use it. And I'm not saying that it's bad we didn't use it. I don't want to say like squandered, because that kind of gives the implication that that was the right path. But I think that was the last time someone presented something where like, oh, this is actually new and interesting. But just like there were so many other issues with it that it made sense not to go for it.
I think that I think the thing that happened to VR was that for a while we had two choices with VR, which is one, have an incredibly expensive PC and then set up a bunch of fucking lighthouses around a room and have cables hanging out of the back of your head like you're the Predator monster, and do VR that way. Or you can get a relatively light, comfortable, like cost-effective headset and really comfortable controllers. The problem is that headset and those controllers were originally from Oculus, but whoops, howdy, Oculus got bought by Meta, who were like, hey, we'd like to pivot this whole VR division toward essentially like creating like a VR implementation of Facebook, and that didn't take off. And
I
so
completely
like
forgot about the metaverse. I purposefully just like pushed it down into my memories.
Yeah. And so as a result, like the Quest division of Meta has been like definitely like under supported ever since then. I mean, fortunately, one of the hardware announcements that came out of Valve, when they were like, hey, we've got new hardware coming, is they have a headset coming which does not need to plug into a PC. So we'll get another crack at this thing, but the problem is that now we're past the point where like hardware is super expensive again. Like there really was a fucking great sweet spot where like the Quest was like $300, and Meta fucked us, and that sucks.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely the case. I do sometimes wonder about whether we could ever move to an installation-based economic model again. Like arcades were an installation-based. They weren't mass market in the sense of like everyone had one in their living room. They were mass market in the sense that everyone had one in their bar and their laundromat. But, it's kind of a different thing. And I've thought about like, Brian, the whole time you're talking, I was just like, I think the next time this could happen is when we fucking make a holodeck. And I was just like, a holodeck would absolutely have to be installation based. There's no fucking way you could do that at home from like a safety perspective. Right. And like the technology would probably just be so fucking expensive. But I do wonder whether we could ever go that direction, just like whether American consumers or whether global consumers would tolerate that. And let me say audiences, not just consumers, because like I'm speaking like a fucking marketing executive here.
Right.
but like whether that would be possible as like a way forward, and I don't know. I don't know.
I think there needs to be a certain level of interactivity for it to be like an installation based thing, because like, you know, they still have dartboards, you know, and they still do like touch tune machines and what have you. Like those pop up in like, you know, establishments. And like maybe like there is like a price point, like an installation like cost number that a VR like slash holodeck experience could like slot into. That would make sense. I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but like it has to be like not much more riskier than like a fancy like arcade machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like if they get it to like that number, like whatever it is, I could definitely see it being like an installation based like development space. That could be cool.
Yeah, we'll see. But Brian, yeah, I'm normally not someone who's like, oh, one single actor fucked up a market, but like, yeah, you're right.
Fucking meta.
Meta really fucked that one up.
Did you see they're making a new like companion piece of the Social Network?
I did. So the guy they got to depict fucking Mark Zuckerberg does not look anything like modern Mark Zuckerberg. He looks like evil in a way that I appreciate, but like modern Mark Zuckerberg is definitely like, oh, I've like put on this persona in order to seem more personable, and while I probably am awful on the inside still, I don't look like this cartoon ass villain they have in this movie.
That's fair. I think I feel like that's a little intentional. Like they don't want to get like thing by like likeness stuff if it's not like a true parody.
Right.
But like who would you get? Like you get someone that looks like Blake Griffin with like
Oh my
like
god,
curly hair or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, Kazuma Kuwabara himself. Oh my god. But wait, let me look up what modern Jesse Eisenberg looks like. I have no idea.
No, I think he's because like there was a day in like 2018, 2019 where like someone called Mark Zuckerberg a twink in a place that he could hear it, and he started to get jacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
okay, modern Jesse Eisenberg does not look like Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah, it would not work.
yeah, they couldn't do that again. But like, you know what would have been really funny? They wouldn't have done it, right? But like, imagine if they got Channing Tatum to play modern Mark Zuckerberg. They would have never done it. But like, imagine.
And then they use like really shitty AI. They use really shitty AI on top of it too.
Oh man, I think they could make a prosthetic to like bridge the gap ultimately, but like, man, it'd be funny.
So, have you guys seen the trailer? I asked for a very specific reason.
I've seen it. I don't know if Brian's seen it. We haven't talked about it at all.
Okay,
Yes.
Can we talk about how they said brought to you by the writer of The Social Network instead of just saying fucking Aaron Sorkin?
Well, like Aaron, what has he done in the last like 5 years? You know,
But just like what a weird way to introduce someone.
it is weird. Like I think it's 100% weird, and like especially because of like Sorkin's like career. But like I don't think he's been active for like a minute.
I think the last thing he directed was the Trial of the Chicago 7, which sucked.
When was that?
Let me check. Was that like 2020?
No, so the reason I bring it up is when I saw that I was like, wait, did he not write that movie? Then I went back and I was just like, oh, okay, never mind. They just introduced it in the weirdest way possible.
I think also it might be because now that I'm looking at his like Wikipedia page, it looks like he was involved in the film, but only post production and as a producer.
So like Aaron Sorkin, yeah. So Trial of Chicago 7 was 2020. I mean, he's always been all right. He has so many bad habits as a writer, which need to be tempered by other collaborators. And so when he's directing a movie, there's no one around to go like, well, what the fuck is this? And Aaron Sorkin is definitely a person who needs a what the fuck is this guy.
Yeah, and, that fucking guy who wrote the Avengers. What's that fucking guy's name?
Oh, the Russos?
Is it the Russos?
Oh wait, the first Avengers movie, Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
Yes, Whedon. Whedon needs someone like within 20 feet of him at all times to just say, "What the fuck is that?" You know? Like, fuck.
Oh God. With Sorkin has this like, oh man, the walk and talks. Oh God, the walk and talks. The like, all right, can I get somebody to say 30 words in 20 seconds? And like watching the trailer, like the trailer opens with like Mikey Madison talking, and like the biggest feedback I heard from the internet after the trailer was like, I can't tell what the fuck Mikey Madison is saying for half of that trailer. I'm like, yep, that checks out. An Aaron Sorkin production. Like just and the other half of the trailer is just Jeremy Strong as Mark Zuckerberg. Like, I'm not in a dorm room anymore. Okay, it's like, oh yeah, this will be famous. This will be good.
Tommy
Like,
Wiseau as Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh God. I did
Yo,
not hit her. I did not cause January 6th.
I would watch that movie.
Oh God, yes. But yeah, like
post-government.
But Aaron Sorkin, it was like the Social Network was definitely like a very special case because all of Aaron Sorkin's habits complement David Fincher's worst habits, and so like they kind of like played off of each other, and so you got something very, very compelling, and now he doesn't have that like he doesn't have anybody there to like say like, hey, no man, like this is just a bad fucking idea. Like,
wait, Brian,
Brian,
you're like familiar with like Tony Jaa's hit career, right?
Yes.
Is this Aaron Sorkin's Ong Bak 3?
Jesus. Oh.
He's gonna go to the fucking temple next year, man.
Okay. So, like, things that I was mystified by is that shortly around the time that, like, Aaron Sorkin is going to direct the sequel to The Social Network, which will be billed as a sequel to The Social Network, was around the time that it was announced that David Fincher was going to direct the sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is called The Adventures of Cliff Booth. So I think that what that means is that we now need Quentin Tarantino to direct a sequel to Molly's Game, and we'll be set. We've got it now.
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm ignorant of what Molly's Game is. I feel Rocky might know, but I don't.
It's just an earlier Aaron Sorkin movie.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it stars Jessica Chastain as a woman who ran secret poker games after being a gymnast.
What? Okay.
Yeah, and Kevin Costner is her father. And oh god, and it's based on a real life case.
It's biographical.
Yeah, it is in fact biographical, and it has one of the characters is supposed to be like very obviously Tobey Maguire, because Tobey Maguire is like well known for like being like a huge piece of shit in secret poker games.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. I just know the fucking Tugboat Maguire meme.
Yeah.
Wait, is that based on his poker shit? Actually,
yeah, it could very well be. I'm not sure, but like, yeah, like Tobey Maguire, poker all the time. If he's not shooting a movie, fuckers in Vegas all the time. High stakes games, like Tobey Maguire, like lives for poker. And they're like, yeah, okay, who do we get to play the guy who's obviously supposed to be fucking Tobey Maguire in the movie? I know, Michael Cera.
Wow.
And so like, and so you get like some like you get Michael Cera trying to be menacing in the movie. You're like, I'll ruin you. And so there's like layers of it. It's like here's Michael Cera trying to be menacing, but not only is he trying to be menacing, he's trying to be Tobey Maguire.
So how much does it border into Spider-Man 3?
I'm trying to check the years. I'm pretty sure they're close, but I can't remember how
No,
close.
I meant the performance style.
Um, yeah, no, that's fair. Very close. Oh Jesus! Oh yeah, and it also occurs to me, Jeremy Strong, who plays Zuckerberg in The Social Reckoning, he was in Molly's Game as well. So yeah. So there you go, fam. Add that one to your watch list on Letterboxd.
I'm not gonna lie. In the background right now, I'm looking up Michael Cera 2026 and covering his beard, seeing if he could play Mark Zuckerberg or not. And the answer is not really. It's probably a better fit than the current guy, but not really.
Man, there was I saw they finally found an application for Michael Cera. Um, he was in a Wes Anderson picture last year, and he was good in it. And I was relieved to see this because I have spent years sitting down for movies, going like, "Oh no, we regret to inform you, Michael Cera is in this film."
Damn.
So it was nice to see him finally find a niche that worked. Should I be surprised that it was Wes Anderson? I probably shouldn't.
Yeah, that feels perfect to me.
Yeah. Working for the squirrely little guy who likes to compartmentalize his emotions. Sure, okay. Joe, I don't think we've had you on since I started using Letterboxd a lot. I got jump scared by you on Letterboxd the other day.
Rating the Furious?
That's the one.
Yeah, man. I think I have the most negative opinion of the Furious of fans of martial arts movies, in that I gave it a 4 out of 5. I mean, I really like it. I just think maybe the comparisons to the Raid really fucked me up, because I went in expecting this kind of like grounded style of combat. When I got was like the most impressionist acrobatic style of grappling I've ever seen, which from an arts perspective and choreography and just like the dance like nature of action movies is amazing, but just like kind of just doesn't fit with like how grounded I wanted the fighting to be. It's kind of like going back to like a 70s shapes kung fu movie, which like they definitely have their place, but it is not my favorite mode of martial arts film.
I think it's a really bad habit for people who haven't watched a lot of action or combat focused films, that when they see hand to hand fighting in a movie, and they like it, they're like, "Oh, those people are fighting hand to hand, and I like it." That the only point of reference they have is the Raid.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Oh man, it's like the Raid." I'm like, "Are you sure about that? You sure about that?" Because no.
I'd also put two other things there, is that I think the world building is bad. Like I think the world building is like explicitly bad. It has this like phenomena that happens in a lot of like East Asian films, where it's just like, we'll set it in Southeast Asia. It's like, well, where in Southeast Asia? Oh, Southeast Asia. And so it is full of Thai actors speaking Tagalog badly, which, that your mileage may vary on that complaint. I just happen to be Filipino.
Right.
But like it kind of just takes it away from a place, and some of that's obviously libel law, some of that's obviously being able to distribute it throughout Southeast Asia. But it just rings less true. Not to mention, I recently saw a Taiwanese drama called The Resurrected, which has a very remarkably similar plot in terms of like being about human trafficking of like a main character's daughter in Southeast Asia. And it's about like two nominally, Chinese people going to Southeast Asia trying to figure out the human trafficking ring. And like, I'm not saying that it copied it because this is just in the zeitgeist right now, like throughout both China, Taiwan, and like Singapore. But it still was just like, you guys just kind of painted by numbers on the world building. The fighting is beautiful, but not what I was expecting. It's in a mode that, again, I respect but don't love. And then I think the world building and like writing is bad. That's my general thoughts. But I think again, the combat amazing.
I just noticed something in your letterbox history that I would now like to ask about.
Go for it.
There is a comment that you made in your review of the film Superman last year, where you said this film has good politics. You said good politics, but otherwise comfort food, and I had some pretty significant arguments with Superman's politics.
I mean, I bet like what you're gonna say is probably gonna be valid. I think I meant that more in the broad sense of just like a hey, I'm criticizing a state in the Middle East.
Okay.
I think a question: are you more referring to either one, the sort of like one person fulcrum that is their stand-in for Benjamin Netanyahu, or two, maybe the idea that like a singular god can like save us from like political and like wartime problems?
Actually, neither of these things. But
Interesting.
yes. So
Tell me more.
I objected to the speech that Superman gives to Lex Luthor about how he's more human than everybody. That like a lot of the presentation of the character is about immigrant assimilation. Like when they do this reveal where they're like, see, Superman's parents were evil, and the reason he's good is that he like
was raised by white people.
Yeah. And then when he like delivers, he delivers a speech as so often Superman does in the third act, which is an opportunity to like do some good, but that speech is very much about immigrant assimilation. I was like, oh boy, howdy, this sure doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I can definitely see that criticism, and like I don't think I consciously thought about that when I came out of it, but I did immediately start spinning up like a alternative Superman origin like in my mind as I walked out that kind of speaks to some of your concerns.
Yeah.
And it was this idea of like what if Jor-El came with Superman, but basically like by virtue of having come at a later date, he only gets like a small fraction of the superpowers and gets involved with like US politics and like trying to prevent like aliens from taking over the world, but he's like a much shittier superhero and just kind of like he dies at like the hands of something before Clark is like old enough to like really remember him. So he just has this ghost of a memory of being like from somewhere else, and kind of like how the Kents would raise him, kind of with this idea of like one, adoption and being much more forthcoming about that. Two, this idea of like a combined culture. Three, like the inaccessibility of that culture. And kind of like four, like how he deals with like searching for like identity in that world. And like it didn't even occur to me that like, oh, I'm making this like fanfic in my mind because of the issues I took with the assimilationist view of the film, which like, yes, you're right, in a in a movie that is very much about Israel, which has questions about identity and dual allegiance constantly put forward on people from that area historically. I think there was a lot to say about like the ways it falls short in that, and I would definitely agree with that. I think to me it was secondary to just like the criticism of the modern state of Israel, which I think at that time seemed like it was like unalloyedly had like the support of every powerful thing on earth, and now that's like much more of a muddy picture. So I think maybe some of my saying that it was good politics was in reaction to just like the complete slaughter of people that I saw at that time, and like it being critical in a way that was like not super nuanced, but at least was critical at a time where like everyone else was kowtowing to it, especially like if we're looking at like Gal Gadot being in and I know that was earlier, but Gal Gadot being in anything to do with DC, and then also kind of like the position of characters in Marvel vis-a-vis, the state, etc. So like I could definitely see it's a naive reading, and I think that like yes, it is a very assimilationist version of the Superman character, but I think it was much more just like where I was at that moment.
Okay, cool, fair enough. And let the record show, courtroom reporter, that I never called Joe naive. Come on.
No, sorry. I don't think you were calling me naive. I think more like I personally find the viewpoint naive that you're saying, and like I agree. It is definitely. We could talk a lot about assimilationism and the questions therein, especially in my current position as a soon-to-be father. But this is definitely something I'm thinking about, and like honestly, there's some part of me that's like, man, maybe I should write that fan fiction. And I'm like, no, that would consume my life. I don't have fucking time for that. Although maybe we'll be more informed as I become a father and go through that experience.
I'm just picturing the either heartwarming or terrifying moment where a father presents their child a 3-ring binder full of fanfic. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, Joe, I think you should read it. I agree that maybe it could be like a consumptive thing, but I don't know. Maybe a little bit at a time isn't exactly a bad thing.
That's fair, and I also think that the idea of like Jor-El coming from a fallen world is really interesting, given like what I think is the future of the Middle East. But we'll see what happens there, and like I was hoping to make a version of Jor-El that is absolutely not perfect and tries to do well, and like tries to do well by his son and the Kents, because he's like basically like a renter. He's like a Joseph figure in like their life, who like just like leaves his kid there, and like eventually dies protecting all of them, but like has this like very mixed record as someone who like was a very flawed individual.
For sure.
Yeah.
For more unpopular opinions on popular movies, feel free to ask me about Backrooms.
Yo, please tell me about the Backrooms. I mean, I didn't see it. I was just like, oh, this is a fucking Scary Movie 6 levels of Labubu movie, but. And for the record, I like Scary Movie 6, but.
Yeah.
Oh, so like the thing. All right, we when it comes to horror films, we must acknowledge that we live in a post-hereditary world, where every fucking character now in horror films has to be like stapled to some personal trauma experience, and it needs to be explained explicitly in the first act. Like, okay, like here's this character, here's what they went through, here's how it informs their experience with like the spooky scary thing. And in Backrooms, there are 2 central characters. One is a guy who owns a shitty furniture store, and the other central character is his therapist. And in Act 1, we literally get a scene where he's like sitting in therapy, and explains all of his motivations, all of his fears. And I'm like, oh man, we're just here now with movies, aren't we? Like we can't get to know our characters by virtue of how they interact with the world and how they bounce off of things. We now have to have them deliver their interiority as exposition, in a therapy scene. And the director used colorblind casting without considering the implication thereof. And so
I'm really wondering where this is going right now.
Oh, yeah. So he's got a film where his lead is a black man, who is an angry alcoholic, and it's explained that he is a rage-filled alcoholic whose ex-wife left him after he paid for her to go to law school, and And when he finds his way into the back rooms, there's something that he finds calming about its cold institutional nature. Like he
All
just
right.
belongs there.
Okay, I was wondering when it was gonna kick in. I see now.
And there it is. Um, and there's no acknowledgement of this character's race. And so it's just like it's very awkward. And later on during the third act, his psychiatrist, who is like duct taped to a chair in kind of like a recreation of like the dinner scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is yelling at him and saying, you created your own problems. A lot of your problems are because you're lazy.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
It's because you're late. It's because you're lazy and angry. And it's just like, oh man. Like, and I recognize that like it's a the movie was like directed by a 20-year-old kid who was trying to use colorblind casting, but nobody around him said like, hey man, maybe pump the fucking brakes and just think about some of these implications. So there's that. There's also that the film is like incredibly visually bland. Like so much of the movie is like shot in a way where you could like effectively like cut off 40% of the frame on either side, so that way you're just like creating a vertical TikTok video.
Oh, okay.
Where we're always putting the point of interest dead center frame. Lots of like shallow depth of field, thing right in the middle. So
are there any other directors this young, like who are widely released? I just asked just because I do wonder how much of this is downstream from like vertical video.
I mean, there is a whole. I mean, there's a whole mess of Zoomers out there right now who are hitting the gold mines. There's this other fella, Curry Barker, who has a movie called Obsession.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
Well, for unpopular opinions on the film Obsession, tune into Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes in the trailer, I guess.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Obsession seems to be a movie where like the director is like finding a way to disguise his discomfort with people who are mentally ill by superficially criticizing male sexual entitlement. So that way he can be like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna play this woman's like mentally ill behavior for like thrills and laughs, but because I like touchingly go like, see, isn't he terrible?" periodically, we can all feel good about gawking at her.
So they saw Midsummer and took like one of the many wrong lessons to take from it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Midsummer. The movie's a mess. I mean, there are good things there, but it's a bit of a mess. Like it's a film which is, the more and more times I watch Midsummer, the more obviously like its gender swapped autobiographical nature becomes more obvious.
Interesting. I don't know enough about his life, I guess.
Yeah. So like, the film, it was intended to be autobiographical, but he's like, you know what? He's like, I think audiences might connect to my story more if it was a female lead.
Wait, I gotta pause real quick. Is Beau is Afraid also autobiographical?
Yes.
In which case, man, what a fucking life. I'm gonna read up, I guess.
But yeah, like what a. But it just, man. I mean, I don't think he actually had like a sibling gas his parents, with a car in the garage.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, how could his mom have tricked him? I mean, spoilers for Beau's Afraid. Otherwise, how could his mom have tricked him into fucking and killing someone who was kind of like her?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Also, to anybody out there whose dad is a giant penis monster, I see you. Man. I assure you, everyone, this is a podcast about video games.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Speaking about
like, the last several episodes, this might be the first one in a while where, like, if we were to look at a pie chart of topics over the course of the runtime, this might be the one where the video games is the smallest slice in a while.
Yeah, maybe.
It's true.
To bring back fatherhood and like video games and the like, I recently played Dragon Quest 3 26 years after I meant to. Or 25.
How's that going?
I beat it. I enjoyed it a lot. Have you guys played it? Have you guys played that one explicitly?
Not 3.
No, I have not.
Okay, so 3 is a hyper influential game on JRPGs. Like, if you play it, you'll be like, oh, I see this. Like, obviously Dragon Quest has more of its DNA running through everything, including, SMT and like Pokemon and the like. But Dragon Quest 3 definitely has still a good portion of the blueprint on even many of the later Final Fantasies. But it's a game in which you like have a main character who's set, he's you, and he's trying to find his own father who went out trying to save the world like years ago. Similar setup to the Odyssey. Similar setup to the Odyssey, similar setup to Dragon Quest V. But you make a party of people from like different classes, and I don't mean that in like the modern sense of like, oh yeah, your characters are assembled from different classes in society. No. It's like literally a cleric, a mage, blah blah blah. And you like go across the world trying to find effectively the Dragon Balls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, but amazing game. Art by Akira Toriyama, music by war crime apologist Koichi Sugiyama, who is dead and therefore not getting any of the money. Well, also Akira Toriyama, sadly dead, but Koichi Sugiyama, Anyways, really cool playing it now, kind of seeing just how much it's influenced. Like it's really clear to me, like looking back on it, that its DNA goes into almost everything I can think of. Like from 1 later Dragon Quest 2, I'm 99% sure that there's a part of Dark Souls 1 that is like directly based on a part of Dragon Quest 3. That's a lot of like the way party systems work in like JRPGs broadly are from this, and it was really cool seeing it. I don't know how much more I can really say because like it's kind of just a game that probably a lot of people in the audience have played, and I don't think I'm going to convince a lot of people to play it because it's in that weird transition point. Like, Dragon Quest 1, you can still play it now, but it's like so simple that like you could really just like watch it or even just make an AI to play it. Dragon Quest V is like a full-on RPG, similar to like, the order of SNES, like Final Fantasies, like, go back, play those for sure. 3 is like, I think it's borderline, and like you'll definitely have to look to see whether you want to play it. But I think if you're interested in the history of JRPGs and kind of like Japanese game development generally, you owe it to yourself to play Dragon Quest 3 at some point. And yes, I played the Switch HD 2D remake, so it is not the pure form of it. I own the Game Boy Color remake and just never played it. That's the one I wanted to play 25 years ago and just never got to. But it was really cool finally seeing this thing that I had been imagining for such a long time. And like, it is not like a 5 out of 5 game. I think even as everyone who listens to this who has any, familiarity with like the stuff I like will know that like I definitely like care about historical legacy, blah, blah, blah. But I also still care about like the way it works in the current day. And I'm making a pretty big distinction between how influential it is and how much its DNA is wrapped up in everything else versus just like, hey, as a game, it's fun, but like I fought every encounter. I only ran like twice, but I just had to focus on it as if it was like a puzzle game and just try to figure out the fastest way to get through every encounter because man, there's a lot of fucking encounters. You don't have to grind if you actually fight every battle, and that's the truth of many Dragon Quest games is that where people think you need to grind, you actually just need to fight every fight and just go back to town when you need to, rather than just like run away, which most people often do. But that's all I really have to say about it, unless either of you guys has any questions about DQ3, because if you haven't played it, I don't know. Oh, actually, one thing that's interesting about it is, hey, spoilers, it's a fucking isekai, but not in the way you think it is. He's not like from the modern world. He's from effectively like medieval Earth and then ends up in a fantasy world.
Neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing that
Sure.
was like done like that early.
Let's see here. I'm trying to think of stuff that I have played worth talking about and what questions I have about Dragon Quest. I know that there is like a recently released, like they are into that Dragon Quest money because they just put up Dragon Quest 7 reimagined.
The second remake, yeah.
Yes.
I need to play that one.
Oh Lord! Speaking of second remakes, Joe, I got to pick your brain on your thoughts on the most recent Nintendo Direct. I don't know how tapped in you are to it, how much
Star
you know
Fox?
about it. How about that? We're making Ocarina of Time again.
Ugh. You asked me this as a very pointed question because everyone knows that I'm not a huge 3D Zelda guy.
Sure.
Yeah, man. Like, hey, I enjoyed Ocarina the one time I've played it. I'm glad I played it. I really would have liked them to have remade and made better one of the other 3D Zeldas, or fucking Zelda 2. What if you made Zelda 2 but good? Oh my god.
They're so afraid of touching Zelda 2, man.
Well,
It's like...
that's because it's bad. Anyway. But yeah, no, like, so I back in the day tried playing Twilight Princess and just was like bored to tears, and I've heard that like later parts get good, and I'm just like, why the fuck don't we just make a remake that just gets you to the later parts then? And like I've heard similar with Skyward Sword as well. I'm sorry Tegan's not on this episode, so she will take issue with what I'm saying later, but like, yeah, man, I just really wish, like, I'm not even saying like make a 3D version of Zelda 2. I'm saying literally make a Zelda 2 that is still fully 2D or like, 2.5D and just make it good.
Well, I've got this helpful graph here, Joe, that explains why, which says that people who have emotional attachment and disposable income to Zelda 2 don't really exist anymore. Those folks are too old now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, in order to strike the emotional attachment plus disposable income band, they have to go for a newer game.
I think that means they should be making Spirit Tracks too. Phantom Hourglass.
What everyone has been waiting for, everyone. It's time for Minish Cap 2.
Okay, I unironically love Minish Cap. But I don't think that would sell well to the modern Zelda audience. I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah.
On a similar vein, like we can definitely come back to Zelda. I was just going to say Mina the Hollower is my next game I will probably be playing when my son is born and I am like rocking him to sleep. I'm debating between that and like a turn-based JRPG. Like when the, mostly I've already fed them already, like, rock them and stuff. And I'm just like there, just like rocking a cradle for a while.
Like, I am here to tell you that Mina the Hollower will definitely kick your dick in. So,
okay.
I don't think it's a thing you can really play with one hand.
Okay, maybe
honestly.
it's Dragon Quest 7 then, because I never played original Dragon Quest 7, so the remake might be the move.
For sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, how are you guys feeling about it? Because, like, I remember someone was like, they should have just hired the fucking Unreal Engine 4 Ocarina of Time guy. And I was like, no, they shouldn't have. Like, I'm not saying that guy's bad or anything. I just, like, don't think people just understand what a fucking vertical slice is and how easy it is to make just like, hey, so again, I don't represent the company that I work for in my opinions, blah 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 blah. But like, you guys have all seen Genie, right? Genie 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, the fucking Unreal like engine Ocarina of Time is just a genie ass like thing. Like that's it. Like it's just like, yeah, we made a way of getting around a couple places. I'm not doing anything interesting or special here.
Yeah.
It just so happens people have made like really easy, repeatable ways to do things that Zelda 64 codified. I'm sorry, Ocarina of Time codified. Right. So like it's not that much work to make the skeleton of it. It is like the polish and stuff that is the hard part. But like it's similar to construction of like fucking high-speed rail in California where people are like, how have they not laid any track? It's like they've done 70% of the work, because 70% of the work is grading like rail beds and like making bridges, you fucking moron. Like the skeleton is the part that in this case is easy, and in the case of like California high-speed rail is hard, but like people don't understand how the production pipeline works. And this is like a longer term criticism I have of like the way Patreon and stuff and Kickstarter have fucked up people's understanding of games production, because people lie about how much stuff costs, not out of malice, but it's because the only way they can raise money is to lie about how much stuff costs by then getting the same amount of funding or more from like private sources. And so because that, people have this fucked up view of how much that stuff costs. But this is all to say, to come back, I do not begrudge Nintendo for making Ocarina of Time 64. I mean, Ocarina of Time again. I just wish they would do something more interesting, because like when they made Link's Awakening, I was hoping they were going to make the Oracle games with the same engine. I know they ended up doing something interesting with like the same engine, which is cool. I'm glad they did something new and different. But I do wish that like there was, I hate to say this, I do wish there was like a DLC pathway forward where it's like, we will also make Majora's Mask. And I'm saying that as someone who doesn't even like Majora's Mask. I do not enjoy Majora's Mask, but like I wish that for other people, because you already have the system.
Man, like it feels weird that Nintendo's two biggest announcements this year, as far from a software perspective, are remakes. Like please to enjoy Ocarina, please to enjoy Star Fox again. The Star Fox stuff feels even weirder with the whole like, hey, do you have a camera set up with your Switch 2 that so we can do face tracking, so that way you can say do a barrel roll to your friends and we'll do face track. Like it's so just kind of like it's almost weird, Nintendo.
Brian, I do not mean this sarcastically. What would you realistically want them to make with their current catalog and current release schedule? Like, say if like you could have gone back a year and set up the perfect plan for like what they could make now. I mean this very earnestly.
You put that cruel modifier on me, realistically.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, you and I would just fucking make Game Boy Camera 2. Anyways.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present Rusty's Real Deal Baseball 2.
Yeah, I mean, you and I would make some fucking weird shit if we were given the full reins. But I'm saying, like, what could sell?
I'm never getting a Rusty's Real Deal Baseball 2, Emma.
Well, yeah, because the business model turns out to be too ethical.
No, they're making a sequel to Backyard Baseball this year. Maybe they'll make Rusty's Real Deal Baseball 2 someday. Who knows?
I don't think baseball is the problem here.
No, that's fair. I mean, specifically, it's like a niche sports simulator that like may not have been super popular, but like,
is baseball my path to finally getting a sequel to Eternal Darkness?
Please elaborate on this.
We could get like, so it's like Lovecraftian baseball. So like,
wait,
right. Like Cthulhu and Harry Carey on the call. Yeah.
Are we talking about the non-racist part of Lovecraftian baseball? Because if we're just going with Lovecraftian baseball, there's going to be a couple other leagues for people who are ethnic undesirables, according to him.
Oh boy, howdy.
Oh, the fucking people from Innsmouth League. You guys can go over there.
Maybe that's part of why Eternal Darkness was so much fun, because it was like weird cosmic horror with tentacles and shit that that didn't that wasn't, racist at every turn. I mean, there sure as hell were some problems in Eternal Darkness, but nowhere near the density, not the problems per square inch that exists in your average Lovecraft short story.
I think that's why they're fascinating as time capsules, just because like seeing the ways in which like a very intelligent, very cultured person who also is a huge fucking racist couches his stuff in like supposed high culture, and just kind of like what he does, the convolutions of his mind are fascinating, while at the same time I'm like really glad no one writes this now.
Okay. So that does pin me to like that. It occurs to me that there are two topics that I wanted to make sure I picked your brain on before we do wrap today, and you reminded me of one of them by saying very intelligent, very cultured racist, which where I was like, well, the demo for the new Jonathan Blow game is out.
Oh my god. It's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
I haven't looked this up. What's the name of it?
The Order of the Sinking Star.
That sounds like something that would have been written during Lovecraft's time.
Yeah. It totally sounds like something like something that would have come out of like a secret meeting of the Blowjob Society or something. But it's I was like, and I found myself incredibly torn, because I was like, man, on one hand, Jonathan fucking Blow, but on the other hand, Jonathan fucking Blow. Like, I mean, man, like it's Braid is one of the most compelling puzzle platformers I have ever played. Like, from a mechanical design standpoint, it's amazing. There are moments where you're playing Braid and your jaw hits the floor. And you're like, holy fuck. But then you get to the end of Braid and you get to the incel ass ending of Braid. And you're like, holy shit. This is about how he's angry that girls don't kiss him. And The Witness, like, man, and Blow has truly like blossomed as an awful person, in recent years. Like he has felt emboldened in our current world. He's a vocal Trump supporter. He's in favor of immigration restrictions. And swinging back to an earlier topic, he sure is in favor of using clankers to replace artists. And he when he has talked about like this game, he's like, the reason I'm not like more actively using clankers is because in the video game market, I would be punished for it by the market. The market is currently rejecting media that uses AI, and so because I want to sell as much as I can, like I can't have AI in my finished product. At least you're being forthright about that. But I wanted to ask you, like where do you sit today on like him as a designer, and would you feel comfortable touching Order of the Sinking Star? Like, would you even have any interest? When conservative art is thoughtful, I find it at least interesting. Like Dirty Harry is a compelling movie.
Is this royal you like me and Rocky?
Yes.
Yeah, Rocky, you go first. I think you have more of a chance of being on a program where that might get discussed.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't particularly care for Jonathan Blow these days. Mostly because of his political affiliations. The works that he's done, Braden the Witness, are very good video games. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like worth the cost of doing business. I do like that he has been scared out of using AI because of how he wants his game to succeed. I'd like more of that. That's cool with me. And that is almost worth being excited about. I don't know if it's enough for me to give him money to play this video game, given, what I expect he might do with it. That being said, there's a free demo on Steam, and I've been looking at it very cautiously for the past 3.5 minutes, and it really doesn't look like there at least visually any Gen AI involved. And that's good, but I feel like there are other puzzle games, to be honest, and maybe even puzzle games that are more my particular flavor. So I don't like the guy. I acknowledge that he's good at his work and that he wants to survive in the industry. And I think as long as the industry can put him in that kind of position and people like him, I think we'll be okay. But I'm not particularly excited about this video game.
Fair. As for me, I'm going to be very honest. I have never played a single one of his games. Part of that is hey, I saw a friend play Braid, and I'm like, oh, this doesn't really seem that interesting to me. Just because I played a lot of puzzle platformers before that, and I like the genre, but his particular spin didn't seem super interesting to me. And then I think I have also held a grudge, not against him personally, but just kind of against the way that he's been talked about since as starting the indie revolution, when it just dude, sure. Fucking Cave Story predates Braid by 4 years. And not to mention, that's the birth of modern indie games. I mean, he didn't sell it until later, but that is the birth of modern indie games. Not to mention indie games as a thing had happened twice already in decades prior. He was just the poster child of the Japan makes bad games era. And people just believing that wholeheartedly and just kind of constructing a narrative around the existence of independent development that just absolutely wasn't true. So I was just I just was not interested in playing his games from that perspective. And I'm someone who believes, quote unquote, the idea of there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, but that people often take that to mean, and then therefore you can spend money with bad people. It's no. That just means you don't get bonus points by spending with good people. It's I think people mistake there's no ethical consumption under capitalism to mean there is no unethical consumption under capitalism, which is just not the case. And so with all that in mind, I bet his games are great. And I say that as someone who can keep an open mind to conservative art that I think is still good, even if I think it's reprehensible. Look at Attack on Titan. I think Attack on Titan's an amazing story, at least for a couple seasons. But it is a horrible, reprehensible nightmare. So with that being said, I don't think I would cover his stuff. And I'm someone who doesn't Brian, are you aware of the whole thing around Rurouni Kenshin? This is kind of different, but let me just talk about it for a second. Are you aware about the whole thing about the manga Rurouni Kenshin?
No, I am not.
The author had so much child pornography on his computer and his networks that he was thought to be distributing. But this has been papered over by the Japanese media industry and the courts. And he had a couple of slap on the wrist things, and he has since been, quote unquote, rehabilitated. And so despite Rurouni Kenshin being an incredibly influential series and stuff, when, my show was still running, we had at one time talked about doing it, and it's yeah, we absolutely can't do that, because people are oh, well, what if you just steal it? That's still fine. Then it's well, you're still putting forward that person's name and their work, And like for me, it's just like, yeah, you just gotta wait till you die. Like I'm not saying that people cannot be forgiven. People can be forgiven if they do the right things to make amends, not only the people that they hurt, but also the people who could be hurt in similar ways. Like if he devoted a significant portion of the rest of his life to stopping like child trafficking and child pornography, like, yeah, I'd be down with him. But like, that's not what fucking happened. And so this is not to say that Jonathan Blow's positions and like his influence are as bad as like the actual harm of, human trafficking and the like. But I am saying that like, hey, I believe in not only evaluating kind of like how much help someone gets by virtue of being given direct money from the sale of something, but also in terms of like, keeping their name in the discourse and the like. And so like, I'd rather just discover him after he's died. And I think that's maybe like I won't say hateful. I almost said a hateful position, but I will say it's petty on my part. But it's kind of where I've landed on all this stuff. As a big Dragon Quest fan who obviously disagrees with Koichi Sugiyama.
Yeah. I've now distracted myself into a side story moment, which is that like a billion years ago, in the before this show launched, I had visions of launching kind of like a podcast that would be kind of like a video game book club, where you play a game and then talk about the game, our experiences with it, mechanically, what we thought of the world building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
It sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and sure had Joe over to my house to play Hitman to prepare for this. And there was this moment which will forever be seared into my brain, where he had successfully killed both targets in Bangkok.
With heavy help from Brian, I never would have gotten anywhere without that.
Yeah. But
it is what it is.
But Jordan Cross, dead. Ken Morgan, dead. And Joe, he's walking back down the dock to exit the mission, and all of a sudden goes into a crouch, and starts walking up behind just like a porter on the fucking dock. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just like this, the urge to mischief murder was just too much.
So good. I love that so much, actually.
Oh, the last thing I definitely wanted to make sure that we got to today, is Grand Theft Auto 6.
The singularity that is absolutely distorting the entire game industry right now.
Shout outs to E.T. the game. I'm very excited about E.T. I'm going to buy 3 more cartridges, at least 5 more consoles to play E.T. on. But yeah. Let's talk about the load-bearing column for the whole industry, which is Grand Theft Auto 6.
I've not been keeping up with it. The primary way I've been engaging with it is just seeing people say like, oh, we got, some weird thing before Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah.
I don't know why the phrase Chinese supervillain comes into my mind, but we got Chinese supervillain before Grand Theft Auto 6.
What was what I heard the other day? It's that Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out in 2004 and was set in the long ago time of 1992 when it was released. And so if you released Grand Theft Auto San Andreas today, in theory, it would be set in the long ago time of 2014, which would be 1 year after Grand Theft Auto 5 came out.
Okay, that'd be really funny, actually. If you could just like go to the office, like I forget, where's this one taking place? Is this Liberty City or where is this?
Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be in Vice City.
Oh, okay, damn it. Because I was gonna say, like, man, if you could go to the fucking offices of Rockstar, that'd be great. You know, Pokemon Red and Blue style.
Oh, um, yeah. So pre-orders go live this week. We have some ideas to like the scale of the map of the game. There have been some uh, there are some like production leaks which have occurred. So we know some things about the game. Like we know that like it's not going to use like the traditional like 1 to 5 star scaling system for like how wanted you are. Um, we know that like police response is different based on economic conditions of the area. Um, and you know other bullshit like um, your notoriety is based on people like filming you if you get like doing crime, et cetera, et cetera. Um, they've been making this fucking game now for 13 years. Um, uh, I guess the things I'm curious about are: is there at this point like the amount of money which Grand Theft Auto Online makes is just like ridiculous. It makes in excess of $1 billion a year. And like industry expectations for Grand Theft Auto 6 are just beyond stratospheric. Like, is there? I think a number that I read is that in order to clear Wall Street's expectations, this thing would need to sell 14 million copies at $80 a pop. Do you think that like that's possible? Do you think that this is a $14 million? I'm sorry, 14 million copy day one kind of game?
Oh, it has to be 14 million day one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just saying 14 million. I'm like, yeah, they can do that. But now I'm like, I don't know, because like, yeah, I think they're releasing it. This one's so there's a lot of problems here, but I think like one of them is not their fault, which is the state of the global economy and the price of computing hardware.
Mhm.
I am curious to see how it scales, just because like Rockstar are technical wizards, but like I don't know how much they optimize for the low end. As someone who's never tried playing their stuff on like low end hardware, I'd be curious because I
They
think,
don't.
they're fucked.
I think one thing that I would say is the low end for them is like the console experience.
They're
Um,
fucked.
There will be no PC availability on day one.
Okay, wow, just really stacking the cards here.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
we'll
don't
see
know
how
they
this
can do
goes.
anything without PC. That sounds crazy.
Apparently, one of the bottlenecks which was experienced in development is Microsoft's requirement that anything that runs on Xbox Series X also has to be able to run on Xbox Series S, um, which is apparently a frequent bottleneck and a reason that a lot of developers like skip Xbox ports these days because the Xbox Series S is pretty underpowered. Um, so that was a notable bottleneck in the history of the development of the thing. And like Sony sent out an email to customers who aren't on record owning a PS5 saying like, hey, if you want to play Grand Theft Auto 6, you need to buy a PlayStation 5.
I'm now seeing why you're saying this is ET.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Uh.
Actually, hold on. I'm back in. I think the number is 14 million day one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's previous Rockstar track record? Let's see.
I'm looking at like the install base, right? So like this is on SonyInteractive.com. They have sold more than 93 million PS5s. Um, I looked at the numbers for Xbox Series X also, and while they're not internally reported, they're estimated to be about a third of that, about 35 million. But like if I'm thinking of how popular Grand Theft Auto has been in the past and the existing install base, completely ignoring for the moment whoever would go out to buy a PS5 to play this game, I think they could sell 14 million copies of the game, presumably if and only if there's something like the like starter shark card that existed for Grand Theft Auto 5. I do think it's possible. I don't think it's likely, but like maybe they could do it cuz like 14 million out of like 93, that's like what, a seventh of the current install base, and like that's what, like a 14% attachment rate on this game. Maybe they could. Again, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't plan for it, and I definitely wouldn't bet on it. But like, that doesn't sound impossible to me.
I guess yeah, that's the issue. It's possible. I just think that it's such a yeah. You're hitting the nail right on the head with that. I would not bet on it, and like they're literally bet on it. So it's like this fucking sucks. Like and
Yeah.
like obviously some of this is their own fault. Another part I'm just like, oh, the fallout of this. If it likely doesn't work out the way they want, like how do they do damage control? How do they try to recoup that over time? And like the answer is probably hoping to get like the amount of like online stuff that they have with 5, but like we'll just see if what portions of the company end up getting jettisoned in that time, like in between
Is that
their search to profitability.
one thing that we talked about before on the show about Grand Theft Auto 6 is that like Grand Theft Auto 6's largest competitor is actually Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft
100%.
Auto
100%.
online. And so like I wonder if that Wall Street bet is just Wall Street fucking around, and like the internal strategy is to gradually, like move people over. I don't know what the current like player base of Grand Theft Auto 5 looks like. I guess I could look into that real quick. But like if their goal is to convert, say like, I don't know, half of those people, which is could be more or less, to Grand Theft Auto 6 over the course of a year, that also seems more healthy. I don't know how likely that is off the top of my head still, but like maybe that's Wall Street fucking around, and that's obviously that has wider implications for sure. But I don't know if that's indicative of, say, like Rockstar's strategy.
So I just looked it up. The MAU for like the monthly active users for Grand Theft Auto 5 Online is 18.3 million. So you know what? Maybe they could do it. But you're right that some of that might cannibalize the future sales. But like, I'd be curious to get the pulse of those communities because probably some significant portion of them are like, of course I'm gonna switch over, and some other significant portion are like, nah, man, I'm gonna fucking Halo 2 backdoor, like dead end this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
No,
Final
that's
Fantasy
fair.
11 of our time.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 11 is still going strong.
That's what I'm
They
saying.
got a new expansion coming. Let's fucking go.
there is a content uh, update which has been pushed to Grand Theft Auto Online, which is scheduled to go live at the end of the summer, called The Last Ride, which is a mission pack, which will, at the end of the mission, see the player's character board a plane to fly to Vice City. Essentially creating like character portability between Grand Theft Auto Online and the online experience for Grand Theft Auto 6. But I think part of the reason that like I wonder like if we look at that monthly active user base of 18 million people, like how many of them are on PC? How many of them are on last gen consoles?
Yep.
Yeah, like
PC is
some dude playing
less than 1 million, which is surprising to me. Oh no, that's weekly active, but still like less than 1 million out of 10 million for weekly active.
Huh.
are on last gen consoles.
No, or on PC, which is surprising. I would have thought it was higher.
Right.
Oh, wait. This is sourced from a fucking YouTuber. Let me see if I can find like a better. You know, I'm not gonna waste my time doing this, but like those are the estimates we got. Let's deal with this conversation as if they're reliable.
I think they're definitely like, you know, hobbling themselves a bit by like not preparing for like day one PC, especially with the expectations that are behind it. Um but like also, I don't know. Like there might be enough consoles to move that many units. Especially like given the popularity of the series and uh how many like how much the game's like expectation is like permeated just like popular culture. That like if 1 in 7 people who own a PS5 pick up the game, Wall Street wins. That's the bet that they're taking. I don't know, maybe, but who knows?
Yeah, like on the last earnings call for Take Two Interactive, Strauss Zelnick, CEO of Take Two Interactive, went on the record and said that Grand Theft Auto 6 was the most important bet that the company had ever taken, and that Grand Theft Auto 6 was, quote, the greatest entertainment product ever developed.
Yeah, okay. We'll see.
Just like the expectations for this thing are at this point like impossibly high. I don't know. There's so many different contributing factors. Like everything this year has gotten out of its way. No, I'm sorry. The
Almost.
the compilation of Barbie games is releasing the same day as Grand Theft Auto 6. But like there are no major releases in November this year. No publisher is putting anything out. Like fucking Nintendo has gotten out of the way of Grand Theft Auto. Like there is nobody releasing that month. And there's so many expectations around it that it's gonna move consoles, that it's gonna lift the industry. Like I can't tell you how many different like financial think pieces I've seen which are saying like Grand Theft Auto needs to save video games.
Are there bundles? Because like it feels like if someone wants to make this a reality, they'd have to like aggressively bundle, just given the price of things right now.
I haven't seen an announcement for one yet.
Yeah.
I imagine it would be for the PS5 as opposed to the Xbox Series X, but I haven't seen any announcements for it. Like,
it wouldn't surprise me if there are like some retail level bundling, like stop into your local Game Fink, and and sign up for Pro Chump Plus and get a bundle.
Oh, okay, so Rockstar Games and Sony have confirmed an official partnership, so they have some bundles.
Okay. So there you go.
That makes sense.
That's an AI summary. Let me go down to the actual sources.
Summary goes on to state that the best way to make grilled cheese is to add Elmer's glue.
Oh God.
Okay, yeah, the PS5 bundle is real according to gamingbible.com.
God damn it.
Which I do not have the time to do the due diligence to determine the, validity of gamingbible.com. For the record, I don't think this is like a religious game site. I think it is a games are my religion and Haze is the shit type place.
Sure.
Okay. What I can say is that there have been leaks about PS5 bundles, and the news about these leaks have been continuing as recently as last month. That and like the original like leak showed up about a year ago. So like they very well could be real, but like they have not been officially confirmed by anyone.
Interesting. Well, regardless, we'll see how it goes. I guess like I'm more just like let's speculate like what would the fallout be if it doesn't do well? Obviously for them, but for the industry as a whole. Do you think like a lot of stakeholders outside of like them specifically made bets as to the install base that will be resultant from it and like whether other people would be like left in the wake, or do you think this would actually be like a windfall for like other developers being like, oh, that didn't fucking sell, here we go?
I think both are valid. I think if GTA 6 does not do well, the like high density technical wizardry of like, interlocking systems with this level of like realistic fidelity would be widely discouraged as design choices. Um and so like that would mean a lot for a lot of different groups. Like, just like for example the recent release from IO Interactive, like a 007 First Light, those guys love making like interlocking systems in a contained open world, and they have leaned closer to graphical fidelity as opposed to art style. And so like I think people like them, like maybe they would learn from the scale, but they would probably like no one would really take a swing at making something as big or even like comparably sized as like GTA 6. I think like, but people who make like smaller stuff or more affordable things would probably see some kind of windfall from it. Um, or even just like, I don't know, like big, like intense, like console experiences. I think people would be a bit more wary of them. I'm trying to think of who would really lose here if like GTA 6. I think Sony would take a huge hit because they've been allegedly partnered with them for a very long time, or not very long time, but like at least for the last like 2-ish years leading up to this game, and that could be a big deal. I don't know if like other console holders would really be affected that much, and I think PC will continue just fine without it if this is bad, but I think we'd get less like highly detailed um densely connected open worlds.
Brian, what say you?
Uh, I wanted to key in on that mention of 007 First Light and the mention of IO Interactive. IO has been pretty vocal about the reason that First Light has been so successful for them is that there are things that they've been able to develop which are like agnostic of like say a single individual game, and that's part of how they've been able to like manage cost. And even though 007 First Light has put up like really large sales numbers and has also been really critically well received this year, the budget for the game has been much lower. It is closer to what used to be called back in the PS2 and Xbox era a double A game.
You can say double A, dude. It's not a dirty word.
And I mean, I think that if GTA 6 breaks, I do see it having implication at like the hardware level, because the sales, like if we look at like the life cycle sales for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, like where they are in their life cycle, and then look at like say like a generation back and even 2 generations back, like the PS5 has not put up PS4 level numbers. The PS4 sold extraordinarily well, and like it is not sold at the same clip. Again, like, and there are a lot of factors in impacting that. Like one, contracting disposable income by target demographics. Let people have less money to spend on video game bullshit. Also, there hasn't been necessarily like strong cases for purchasing new hardware over the life cycle of these consoles. Because we talked about how like the beginning of the cycle, it was COVID, and there wasn't a lot of like compelling exclusives for either box. So like there has been, even if Microsoft doesn't have that same partnership that Sony does, there has been some like hope put that what this represents is a thing which is going to move hardware. People are going to buy boxes to play this on. And there's a hope that like GTA 6 is software that will itself attach itself to other software. Like I remember, because there was a period of time that I was out of games for a while, when I moved across the country, and like part of what got me to return to gaming was Elder Scrolls. When I walked into a store to buy an Xbox 360 and Skyrim, I bought other games that day because I was like, oh well, if I'm going to buy a machine to play video games, if I'm getting back into games, then I'm getting back into games. And like oftentimes, like when people buy a console, like they don't just buy one game, and so there is the hope that like that this will lift all ships. Like other software will benefit. Which is why I think everybody wants to have their games out before. Which is why we have like this overfilled September, this overfilled October, because folks are hoping that when people walk into a store on November 19th and say like one copy of Grand Theft Auto 6, please, they'll say, oh, and well, while I'm here, let me also pick up, Bubsy 4D.
Wait, Brian, to clarify, was some of the attached stuff like, hey, I can't play this in front of my kids. What could I play with my kids to utilize this hardware that I have to make a case to my significant other as to me needing the hardware? Is it something like that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I am lost and confused.
Sorry, the idea of like, hey, the reason there is attached games is because like, hey, I can't play this in front of kids. It's a GTA game. How do I demonstrate the value of this like hardware sync, by getting a console by virtue of getting a more diverse array of games for the whole family? Or is it something else?
Like game diversity is like, that is, I think that's going to be like the key sauce for that, like attach. Like if someone's going to go shell out money for a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X to play Grand Theft Auto 6, and they need to make a case for it, like it's something that they're purchasing for a family. Like other types of like it's not like, I don't think like say Gears of War will benefit from Grand Theft Auto 6.
So things that are complementary rather than like being more of the same.
Exactly.
Interesting. Well, more of the same tonally and audience-wise. Not like, I don't think anyone's making a game of this sort elsewise right now.
Right.
We don't have a new Saints Row.
Jesus, I really do wish we did.
Yeah, man. Parody video games go in the way of parody movies.
God. Like, by the time we got to the end of that series, like, before the, like, completely botched reboot, but and on that note, thanks Embracer Group. Jesus. But when we got to the end of the road for like what Volition wanted to do, like it was so much fun. It was like I would sound too nostalgic if I sit here talking about the tone of Saints Row 4, but God, I love that video game. What a great game. Friends, Go play Saints Row 4.
Someday.
I bought like Saints Row 3 like 6 times.
Oh.
I think basically like every time it came out something new, they would just buy it again because they love those games.
Oh, so much fun.
It's not Brian, for anyone who was guessing. Like,
but yeah, there's an incredible amount of. I think we just have to look at like next year and see like honestly like how big the potential impact of Grand Theft Auto 6 is where Sony said that like their original plans were to release the PS6 in 2027, but because of certain market conditions, they'll be looking at like pushing that by at least a year. And like Asha Sharma talking about Project Helix, the next Xbox. She said that the market has changed so demonstrably that they've got to figure out how to make sure that people can continue to afford to be able to buy consoles. And so she doesn't know what that means as far as like the changes that Xbox needs to make. And so like there's stasis around what happens next in hardware because of all the stuff we talked about earlier on the show. And so there's a real desire to try and like get people who haven't already attached to the current generation in finally here at the tail end of it. And like I think that like that checks out. Like the last Grand Theft Auto game came out in 2013, which was the year before the PS4 and the Xbox One launch. Like the Grand Theft Auto 5 was like really like the last hurrah as far as like big marquee PS3, Xbox 360 games goes. And so like I can see that for a generation which has been like a chronic underperformer, like platform holders going, please God, let this game be a shot in the arm. Like, please revitalize my platform.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Hail Mary works. As much as Nintendo makes like weird mistakes, and like you guys have definitely talked about that, and I've talked about it with you guys individually outside of here. I do think them being off schedule with everyone right now, and also going like an entirely different way in terms of form factor and like market access continues to be the right move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do I wish Nintendo was weirder? Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of their decisions like do grant them a certain measure of security. Also, I could not be more happy right now that Valve is not publicly traded.
Yeah, 100%. It is crazy how much like
Yeah.
independence that has given them, and I appreciate that every day.
Yeah. Oh, Rocky, is this a podcast?
Yeah, sure, man. That's fine. You want to get out of here?
I think that is what we're doing. We're putting the fork in it.
All right. Hey everybody, thanks for hanging out. This has been a special Father's Day episode of Impossible Coin. You can find it wherever podcasts are found, except for SoundCloud. Fuck SoundCloud. But I do have to mention them for a moment because kid brother of the show / potential family man, Big Sach created the music at the beginning and end of this program. You can find his work at soundcloud.com/Big Sach NJ, or you can check out his band's Bandcamp at betweenrooms.bandcamp.com. Our logo was designed by Lauren Moran. You can find her on social media at Lauren Moran, and she has a Patreon, and she does really good work. It's still a miracle that we have this logo, and we still haven't named this mascot. We got to figure that out. That's a whole other thing. We are on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, the meta stuff. Brian is on Blue Sky and Tegan is on Tumblr. It's all Impossible Coin. There's no dashes, underscores, or anything weird like that. In fact, if you see something weird, please let us know because we have to take care of stuff like that. Oh yeah, we're also on YouTube. You might be listening to this on YouTube, and I don't want to like discourage the YouTube listeners, but shout outs. You can check that out there. We also stream a few times a week. You can find us at twitch.tv/Impossible Coin. And that's the long and the short of it. That's us. That's the show. Thank you, Joe, for being here.
Yeah, thanks much, guys. Probably the next time I come onto the podcast, I'll have a kid to tell you guys more about.
Oh yeah.
I'll be even more tired than usual.
Well,
I'm going to endeavor to say like let's. I want to make sure that it's before the the kid is walking, talking, and has opinions about video games.
That sounds great to me. I'd love to be on again. Like this was really good. I was sad that I missed Tegan, but next time.
Yeah.
Next time.
Peace.
See ya.
It's official.